thought I'd take a brief detour from Alan Moore and talk about another writer, a very polarizing writer by the name of Tom King. And Tom King, this is kind of my introduction to Tom King, even though I think I'd seen other things by him. But it was with Mr. Miracle, and I collected the entire series of Mr. Miracle, including a lot of the variant covers because I enjoyed it so much. You could see here Eisner Award winners, so best writer and best artist, and I think those were absolutely deserved. Tom King has a lot of fans, and he has a lot of detractors, and I'll kind of go into that a little bit in just a moment. So Tom King's, he does a lot of single issue, or not even single issue, but like short stories that by and large tend to be, in certain compilations, tend to be the best in the book, at least in my opinion. But he does a lot of 12-issue series, and that seems to be kind of his thing. The other thing he did was, right here, he did Batman. So after he did Mr. Miracle, or I think it was still going on at that point, I went to a comic convention and actually got to meet briefly at a signing Tom King and Mitch Gerads. So this is you can see it's framed and it does sit on my wall. There's Tom King's signature and Mitch Gerads. So that was really cool. And when I met them, Tom King was currently working on his next series, which was something near and dear to his heart, which is Heroes in Crisis. And so this is all the issues of Heroes in Crisis. Now, I'm the type of person where even if I'm a huge fan of somebody, I'd like to believe that I can recognize whether their work is good or not. I'm a fan. I'm not a fanboy. So I thought Heroes in Crisis was insufferable. I absolutely hated it. It was only a couple issues in, and I could tell that things were going really badly. And that's why I have the comics, but I never got the compilation hardcover book because I had no interest in reading the story again. And a lot of people hate Heroes in Crisis for what Tom King did to Wally West, The Flash. That is the least of my problems. There are so many problems, and I wrote a scathing review on Amazon for the series. So this one I thought was terrible. He also, the only series I can think of him doing was Batman. And so I bought the deluxe volume 1, book 1 of his work, and did not buy any more because I hated it. Tom King did the same thing that Scott Snyder did, and to a lesser extent Grant Morrison did, which was make Batman unstoppable. He was perfect. And the perfect Batman is a boring Batman. And so I did not like this. Did not buy any more. So next thing he did was this here, Rorschach. Now I was a little worried about this one when I heard that they were going to do this, and I actually considered not getting it at all because I felt like writers were not getting the point of Rorschach. And so I didn't know if this was going to be now this came out I think as Doomsday Clock was still being released, and Doomsday Clock also had a Rorschach, but it was a new Rorschach, a little bit weird because even though it was a different person, he talked and acted exactly like the original Rorschach, who was very dead. So I did not know who this Rorschach was going to be, whether it was going to be the original or whether it was going to be the new Rorschach or what it was going to be. And I can tell you that it's neither. And it's kind of nobody. In fact, the fact that it's even called Rorschach is a little bit of a bait and switch. It does take place in the Watchmen universe. but it's doesn't have to take place in the Watchmen universe, and so it's really interesting. It's strange. I enjoyed the series a lot, tremendously, and that's why I picked up the book, because I did enjoy it so much. So I wouldn't put it up there with Mr. Miracle, but I thought it was a very interesting and unique, even though it takes place in the DC universe, it could have been its own thing. There's no superpowers, nothing like that. It's basically a sort of a mystery. We have an almost murder at the beginning, an almost assassination, and the two would-be assassins are killed, and then it's trying to figure out who they are. Well, actually, they figured out pretty immediately who they were, but what their motivation was, and that was the investigation. And one of the would-be assassins dressed up as Rorschach. So, not much to do with Rorschach. But I was fine with that, because I was worried that they were going to have Rorschach, and I didn't think that was a good idea. I'm also not a big fan of the usage of Watchmen characters. But I was okay with this, because in this case, Tom King didn't step on Alan Moore's toes at all. He didn't change Alan Moore's story at all. He made some references to it, but that was it. So while he was doing that at Rorschach, we also had Strange Adventures, which was coming out at the same time. And Strange Adventures is kind of, it looks like it's all damaged, but that's how it came. This is in really nice condition, so it's not actually damaged. This one is another one that can be very polarizing, because one of the critiques of Tom King is that he destroys characters, and so the one they always bring up is Wally West. I think the thing with Tom King is you need to put aside the idea that he's writing these in continuity. Mr. Miracle, I don't think is in continuity at all, and the reason is because characters die. A lot of characters die, and I don't think that they actually were dead. In fact, one character is clearly killed, and then later on is back again, inexplicably alive. And so I think that it was kind of a dreamlike series, and I don't think that you can really look at it and say, okay, he did this to this character or whatnot. Wally West, that one was in continuity, as far as I know, Heroes in Crisis, and they immediately went back and tried to undo what Tom King did, and that one was pretty bad. Rorschach, I have no idea. It conflicts with stuff in Doomsday Clock, and so Doomsday Clock, I believe, is considered in continuity. So that would put this out of continuity, or not in canon, and I'm fine with that. If it's a good story, I don't care if it's in continuity or not. So with Strange Adventures, you could definitely make a case that he destroyed a character or two. But again, I don't think it's in continuity. Even if it is in continuity, like, what are you going to do? Adam Strange was I'd say a B or C level character. And if writers want to use him in the future, they just ignore. Even if it's considered in continuity, they can simply ignore what he did and continue to write the character. I think it's a great story, and that's what DC needs more, is great stories, great characterization. I know one of the problems that Tom King's, one of the criticisms he has, is that he does a lot of dialogue, and dialogue can be very tiresome if it's done badly. But the thing is, I think Tom King is as good at dialogue as anybody who's writing for comics. And I think that's why Mr. Miracle was so popular, was because readers were able to identify with the character and feel emotions for him. And I think that's the same with Adam Strange, is that Adam Strange and his wife, whose name I'm drawing a blank on, and Mr. Terrific, and you feel actual emotions for these people, because I think that Tom King does such a good job of writing characterizations. He writes very slowly, uh, methodically, and some people get bored. And to each his own. Right now, he's working on releasing the Human Target, and so it's up to issue 7. And again, I'm really enjoying it. Um, but it is slow moving, and there is a lot of dialogue and not a lot of action. And again, dialogue heavy stories can be insufferable if not done well. But I think that Tom King does it well, so I like it. And Tom King is definitely not 100% guarantee sure shot, and that's true of any writer, even Alan Moore. There were a few things that he wrote that completely lost my interest, and one that I'm going to be looking at in a few days, which I thought was a didn't go very well from Alan Moore. So just because I couldn't stand, I'm going to sell this one because this one's terrible. But Heroes in Crisis, I thought it was appalling on so many levels, and I wrote a long review on why I found it appalling. But overall, I'm a huge fan of what Tom King does. He's really at this point the only writer that I'm collecting for DC. I'm a fan of Tom Taylor, and there's a few others. I was a big fan of Grant Morrison about 60% of the time, and I don't think he does write for DC anymore. So he's moved on to other things. So at this point, Tom King is about all I'm reading. So I'd have to say he's my favorite writer at DC right now. But I think all of these 3, Human Target, great. These, not so much. So if you want to read some great stories, I suggest these 3, Strange Adventures, Mr. Miracle, and Rorschach. I think they're all 3 are very good, and the Human Target, which is an active series right now. All right.